Hello everyone and welcome along to round number 7 of the Inside Line Racing League season here in ILR1 on the Xbox. I am Ginger Andy. I've not been here for a while, but thankfully keeping us all up to date we have James. And James, well, we had a first time winner in ILR last time out. Surprisingly, only his first win last time out, but it was JD, TRL Limitless, picking up that win and closing the gap to just 1 point between the top two in the standings.
Yeah, good evening everyone. It's a pivotal night in the race for the ILR Championship this season, and none more so for JD, who, as you said, won last time out in Britain at Silverstone and won from the back of the field with a tremendous comeback drive, as to be said. Started 13th on the grid, made up all of himself all the way up to first, and it was only the dying laps where we found that he'd win the Grand Prix. That was down to penalties for Carl Mitchell, who was dominating that race. JD comes from, well, really nowhere and just put in an absolute stonking last few laps of the Grand Prix. Actually set the fastest lap of the race on lap 25 out of 26 of the British Grand Prix. Something unheard of, quite frankly. But yes, he won the Grand Prix as a technicality by just over 0.2 of a second.
Wow, well, very, very close there in that particular one. It's always good to see new winners in the tier. Sometimes they are overdue, and that's certainly one that was long overdue. And you know what they say, it can be difficult to win a championship if you don't win races well. It's so tight at the top to finally get that win on the board. Is this the moment where JD goes on a march? We do know that he loves going to the British Grand Prix. It's without doubt his favourite, or one of his favourite tracks on the calendar. It's no secret that he always talked about loving going to Silverstone, his home race of course, and he always goes well there indeed. Well, 8.5 minutes to go though in this session here in Germany, and it is snazzy evening on top at the moment with a 1 minute 11.7. The tyres this weekend, we've got the mediums, the softs, and I believe, is it the supers or the ultras? I'm getting rusty, I forget.
I think it's the ultra softs.
Yeah,
it's the ultra softs.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think that would be the case. Otherwise, they wouldn't be out there on those tyres, would they? They would be on the super soft because I don't think they would wear too badly. So it must be the ultra soft tyre, the other compound. But snazzy evening. He himself, James, one win to his name back in Hungary. He's another driver that's extremely quick. What can we expect from him today? He's on top at the moment. Is he going to be a spanner in the works? Is he the man to get in amongst the fight with the likes of JD and Leopard?
I think he is. There's a few guys since you've last been with us, Sandy, that really should be up there and are fighting. Like PLR Brown as well, who's up there at the moment. Carl Mitchell, as I said, have really good pace at Silverstone. And actually, Snazzy was leading for part of the British Grand Prix last weekend, but he, for some reason, just left the session. No real reason why. He retired and left the session spontaneously, has to be said. So I was a bit shocked by that. I think he's got a big chance of big points today. And we know this qualifying is good on any circuit that he goes to. So this one's another case for him where he needs to get some good points and potentially get his first win of the season to make it my lovely prediction of 5 different winners over the course of this ILR season.
Of course, those bold predictions, going back to those, I forgot all about those, you know that? But yeah, the bold predictions, how could we forget? I actually forget what mine were. I'm going to have to go back quite some way into my Twitter to find them, but you know, you've got yours remembered and you're ticking them off one by one, James, and at the moment you've got a pretty good strike rate, don't you?
Absolutely, I'll be winning a few grand at this current rate if I put any bets on it. It's gone really well. I mean, we've had the other big feat that we're looking forward to this weekend as well, is I think it's the 10th or 11th different podium finisher this season. We've only had 7 races, but we've already had maybe twice the amount that we had last season in terms of podium finishes. It's quite incredible how close this field is, but considering we're into double figures of how many drivers have actually finished on the podium, quite amazing when you consider there's only, well, tonight only 15 drivers on the grid, but that's the sort of average we've had over the course of the season.
Yeah, it really is incredible. I think maybe we should have a word with Liberty Media, because so far in Formula 1 this season. Oh, and Drelex has a big off there down at the Sachs curve, and very nearly does a Sebastian Vettel. He's just gone out there on a set of Ultrasoft tyres, and you know, that's confirming that the Ultrasoft is the third compound this weekend, and just locked up, went straight off and into the gravel trap. So very nearly a Sebastian Vettel-esque moment there for the Canadian driver, James.
Yes, something that all these drivers will hope not to do over the course of this weekend, especially if it rains. Verstappen, what a lap! Moves himself into second place with 11.9. Great lap.
Goodness gracious me, what an effort that is from VSR Verstappen. No, that is not a misprint on your timing screens. He goes second quickest. Where has that come from? I have no idea. He has done 8 laps already in this session, far more than anyone else has done in this session so far. Sarah Rosberg's done 5, Sarah Levins has done 4, but VSR Verstappen putting in the mileage, James, and you know, maybe he just feels he needs to get dialed in, and he's certainly dialed in now with that lap time.
Absolutely, there's no reason why he shouldn't be looking at a good rear position here. If he can nail it on the softs, you know, he's had all these great runs, and he's just got to look at it. It's a very difficult scenario to find yourself as a driver, is when you've got that one shot in qualifying. So if you keep doing hot laps constantly, actually you're going to get a better, obviously, you're going to get a better bearing of what the circuit's going to be like. So actually there's a bit less pressure on you to really perform in that final run, because you know that you're able to hook up a lap. You've just got to do it on the fast set of tyres and find that little bit more grip where you can't on the mediums.
Absolutely. Well, VSR Sira has come out onto the track. Jason has come out onto the track. They look to be the first two venturing out on the soft compound. Of course, that is the tyre of choice for this qualifying session, which pretty much should tell us we're going to have a dry start to this Grand Prix. Otherwise, they would all be out there on the ultra soft tyre. So, you know, if there is any rain forecast at any point, it won't be coming at the start of the race, because certainly it doesn't look likely at all, given that they're all going out there on the soft tyre, which of course is the best tyre to start the race on. So Jason out there warming up the tyres in the Ferrari. You know, he's been a very unfortunate, hasn't he, James, this season? Jason, a really consistent driver in other leagues when I've watched him, and you know, he's not had the chance to show that because he's been wiped out on a number of occasions so far. Hopefully things start to get better for him, because Jason, you know, we love to have him in the league, we love him to have him in the tier. He's so consistent, so strong, and can sometimes go underappreciated, but you always want a driver of Jason's calibre in the league, even when he gets into trouble like he's had this season. You know, he keeps turning up, he keeps looking for that perfect weekend, and hopefully it will come soon.
Absolutely, he is a driver that, you know, recent races, I think he's picked up a bit. It's not been as bad as possibly what it was at the start of the season, but it's definitely improved. Silverstone was a bit of a high for him. I think he got a few good points there, actually. Maybe with sort of cusp of 5th to 10th, I can't remember exact positions, but he was in a pretty good reign at Silverstone as he begins his, well, what maybe his penultimate chance in qualifying. They could do 2 runs here. Someone like Jason will be able to, if he's put enough fuel in the car. He's actually whiffing already, which suggests that he's going to go for another run already.
Yeah, has he made a mistake in that first sector somewhere? Did he maybe cut the first corner? Not too sure, because if he hadn't, he'd have been well lined up there for a half-decent tow off the back of Snazzy Evening just in front. So Jason, okay, decides to bail out. Maybe not the greatest opening run, either that or he feels he needs 2 laps to get the heat into the tyres. But Jason just waiting and waiting for that run. So Jason out there, Rosberg warming up, Bastek's out there warming up. Who is furthest round the lap that we can pick up on a flying lap? We've got Merso going through the first sector, a 16.2 through that opening part of the lap as the Red Bull driver, the Northern Irishman, screams down towards the hairpin as Sira now goes to the top. He flexes his muscles, a 1 minute 11.135. He puts the opening time on the board as Merso rounds the hairpin, which is by far and away the best place to make a move on this circuit, James, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You've got to be really committed up the inside. That particular turn 6, it's always the manic sort of moments in any Grand Prix around here. You can always find on the opening lap that there may be 3 cars going into one corner as he comes now through the Mobil 1 curve.
Yeah, now into that stadium section comes CRGA Merso. What can he do as he rounds that corner where, of course, we saw Vettel, we saw Drelix very nearly replicating it. Now into the technical section, the final couple of corners, you know, really desperate to get the throttle down, run it right out to the curb on the exit, and Merso runs to the line. He's currently 9th. He stays 9th. Not a great effort there from... Not a great effort at all there from Merso. And now we can try and pick up a few other drivers. We've got Limitless there. Who else we got out there? Leopard is further round the lap than Limitless, so we'll keep an eye on him. And Sira pumps in another fastest lap of the session so far. P1 Brown has gone second, but Leopard and JD have got their work cut out if they want to topple Cena this afternoon. The Williams driver with a 1 minute 10.9, and he's on the pad. He is literally a pad god. Has Leopard got an answer? Has Limitless got an answer? The two title rivals doing battle. Here comes the Renault, rounding the final corner, up the line. What can Leopard do? He's only 2 tenths away. JD now, fresh from his victory at Silverstone. Is he going to be pole position for the Brit? No, he's fifth on the grid. And he's just a fraction shy, but do they have time for one more lap? Some of them might, James.
Yeah, they did. JD just about made it across the line. He gets another shot at qualifying. It's really, really close between the top three at the moment. All sat on a 10.9. 3 thousandths between Snazzy and VSR Verstappen, the shock of the day, in third on the grid at the moment.
Unbelievable effort from VSR Verstappen. That is absolutely sensational stuff from him. He would be the man of the day in qualifying. But Sierra, Snazzy, Verstappen, that was their final runs. Leopard and Limitless are going once again. Both of them pushing on a lap. Have they got enough ERS to get them round there? Leopard through the second sector. Is he any quicker? He's a fraction quicker than his previous best. But if he wants to be on pole or move up a position, it's going to have to be an almighty final sector to the lap for LCR Leopard. Slight bit of oversteer there, rounding the curb, round the final couple of corners. Will come Leopard. Can he deliver? Oh, Mitchell now. Kyle Mitchell up into fourth. Leopard needs a big effort at the finish, but it's not enough. He stays fifth. JD's backed out, and that, I believe, is that. What a session, James. Reynolds going again, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's rounding the final corner. I'm not sure if he'll be quicker on this occasion, but up to the line comes Reynolds in the Toro Rosso. Can he improve on his time? He can. He goes himself into the top 10. Good effort from the Toro Rosso. But yeah, it is a close qualifying session. That is a top. That's maybe not where the championship contenders really wanted to be. They did not want to be sat on the third row of the grid. That could play havoc in this Grand Prix, and that is huge. That is huge. The fact that Leopard and Limitless only 5th and 6th, but all credits to the front few men.
Wow, what a qualifying session. Well, I've been away for a few weeks, but you know, the action hasn't let up at all, has it? The top 5 covered by less than 2 tenths of a second. You know, Leopard to be 2 tenths away from pole position and be 5th. He'll be disappointed, he will be, especially with JD alongside him in 6th. That was a real opportunity there for Leopard. We know JD's qualifying is sometimes questionable. That was an opportunity there, without doubt, to put a real marker down for Leopard, and he's failed to take it, James.
Yeah, they both have really. They've both failed to take it. They've both maybe left their laps a little bit too late. But there is your grid. Sierra gets another pole position this year. He starts ahead of Snazzy Evening on the front row. That will be manic. If you watch Silverstone, you know that that's going to be manic. VSR Verstappen starts from 3rd ahead of Carl Mitchell in 4th. Leopard, as we said, is alongside Limitless on row 3. Brown and Morso joined themselves on row 4. Reynolds got himself into the top 10 very late in qualifying from 9th ahead of Melanie in 10th. Rosberg is 11th from Trelix in 12th. Jork 13th. Baztek 14th. Jason didn't get a clean lap in. He starts from the back of the field.
Yeah, well, hopefully things can brighten up for Jason. As we mentioned in qualifying, it's not been the perfect season for him by any stretch, but fresh tyres, you never know what he can do from the back of the grid. Jason always one that can cut his way through the field quietly when he gets a good run. But we need to mention VSR Verstappen there. That was, without doubt, the star of qualifying. Is that one of the laps of the season from a driver, the most unexpected performance? Certainly up there for me, James.
Yeah, it is up there. I mean, Verstappen has had, I'd say, a couple of really good qualifying sessions this season. Like, he's managed to find himself on a couple of occasions just sat in that top 8, top 7. And to be honest, it's somewhere that, given the race pace, if he can stay there, this guy could be a real challenger for a podium. But he's got to have that consistency in the race. It's all well and good doing it in qualifying. We've said this about one particular driver in the past. You've got to perform in the race. As much as you can be good in qualifying means nothing if you can't manage your tyres.
You're absolutely right. But to be only 400ths away, that's a great effort. It really is. But the other thing, this track, DRS train, something you get here so often, so difficult to break, as it is on so many circuits on this game. You know, if he can just be consistent, look after his tyres, he's got every opportunity of springing a real surprise. And when the top 6 are covered by 3 tenths, the top 5 by less than 2, you know, I think this has got potential to be a really, really exciting race, and I'm really looking forward to this one, James. I don't know about you, but this could be a classic.
Yeah, it could well be. I mean, Germany always provides the great racing that is been synonymous really with the circuit, and I am really looking forward to this. 3 DRS zones, I believe, around this circuit. One on the pit straight, one after turn 1, and then the long run up towards turn 6. So it's all really like, many ways like Austria. They're just consistent. They don't like fall away on circuit. They're all very much in a row when you get DRS around here. But it's going to be interesting. Turn 6 is where you'll most likely see the cars start to fall themselves through, but the Mercedes-Benz grandstand, they could still be side by side down there as well. So someone needs a good start here. Verstappen, if he gets a good start, you know what? I might put my bets on him getting a really good result here. Maybe even a podium, dare I say. So let's see how he gets on.
Well, he's well positioned for it. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And as you say, James, this is a track that does provide good action from all the way, down towards the hairpin and then on towards the Mercedes grandstand. It can happen. I mean, I really enjoy this one. It's one of my favourites on the calendar when I used to go racing back in the day. Yes, back in the day. I was a real fan of it. But quickly, let's have a look at the tyre compounds. Top 10 all on the soft compound. That they've got to start on the tyre they qualified on, and that's what they've done. Then, this is where the interesting thing comes in. The first man on fresh tyres, we've got CRL Rosberg going on mediums, Dralex on mediums, Jork softs, Bastek mediums, Jason softs, and RBZ, who was like to join us, on the mediums. So how long into the race can we expect those medium drivers to go? Quite long, you would think.
Yeah, far into the Grand Prix, I'd say around like 15,
20.
16, do about half distance. Yeah, maybe like 20-ish, sorry. Maybe that sort of distance over on the mediums. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, they'll have an indication for how long they can go on the softs at the end when we see what the guys that start the race on the softs can do. But here we are, round 7 of the championship. The title race is finally poised, and none of the top 2 in the standings are filling the front 2 rows. It's got all the ingredients of a classic as the 5 lights come on here in Germany, and we are go at the Hockenheim ring. VSR Sira leads from pole, and he's got a stunning start. He shrieks away into turn 1 ahead of Snazzy Evening and Kyle Mitchell getting a jump on VSR Verstappen as they funnel through the first corner and down towards turn 2. No sign of any contact as they go streaking through that second corner, but it's the perfect start for Sira. Snazzy Evening, Kyle Mitchell, and then VSR Verstappen losing ground as they go down the straight towards turn 6, and VSR Verstappen immediately wants to fight back, pulling side by side with the McLaren into the braking zone. Can he outbrake Kyle Mitchell? He's on the inside, he's got the place back, and he regains 3rd place. Great start to the race, clean stuff. Everywhere you look, James, good action.
Absolutely, JD getting forced off the road there by his championship rival, and up the inside of things more so on Rosberg. Rosberg's had a stonky start from 11th on the grid, moves himself already up into P8. Great stuff from him, but you're right, Andy, it was a really clean start from all these guys. It's not something that we've been accustomed to over recent races, especially not last week where we had an absolute pile-up down at turn 3 at Silverstone.
Well, the top 6 drivers unmoved, apart from the quick switch from Verstappen and Kyle Mitchell. They're back in where they started on the grid. Merceau up 1, as you mentioned. CRL Rosberg, storming getaway, up 3 places from 11th on the grid on those medium tyres. Peter Brown, the big loser on the opening lap, as was Melanie. They're both down 3. Jock up 2, Jason up 3 as well. So a few changes in the midfield, but up front it's as you were as we watch the drivers settle into the rhythm on those soft compound tyres. Let's get the tyres back up. But Sarah Rosberg in a really strong position on those mediums, already up to 8th place, James. Looking good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's similar circuit almost to Bahrain in that sense. You've got a couple of the slow sectors, and we saw what Rosberg could do there. Very, very strong. Managing to finish on the podium that day. But Sira's great start is starting to come into a little bit of question here because Snazzy Evening is really, really hot on his heels. Yes,
he is. 3 tenths between them, and I'm pretty sure you guys watching will be screaming at me to pick that up. We have now picked it up. We go on board with the charging Red Bull driver, Snazzy Evening, right into the back of Sira. And to be honest, that's one of the best starts I've seen on this game from Sira. He lit away off the grid. It reminded me a little bit of when Rosberg won his first ever race back in China 2012. He just disappeared off the line and that was him gone. And that was reminding me of that great effort from Sira off the line. But now Snazzy Evening settling into his rhythm and looking pretty strong, as you say, James. And he'll be one to watch. But at the moment, the early signs are 8/10 gap to Verstappen. The hope that he would maintain that pace, slowly disappearing. Can he keep up? Time will tell if he can stay within DRS as it stretches out to nearly a second.
Yeah, and it's so difficult round here, especially the final sector. This is where everyone seems to lose their time because of the wake of the car in front, and that is simply it. And nobody get too close to the cars in front because it just kills the front tyres. They don't have enough energy come the end of the lap to actually deal with it, and it's just the moves aren't coming in thick and fast just yet, but I'm sure they will be. That battle there for P3 is absolutely crazy with Verstappen, Mitchell, Leopard, and then Limitless just behind. He's falling away a little bit, Limitless, but I'm sure he's not too worried at the moment.
Yeah, well, they won't be too worried at the moment because of the train in front of him. It should allow him to close in, but he will have to be wary about that. The last thing he wants is to drop out with a second and have Merso charging all over the back of him, because that could be a possibility. So that we need to keep an eye on that one. But Verstappen, you got to feel, is under real threat already, with that gap already above DRS territory as it gets activated on this lap. So he's going to be in real trouble, and he's locking up. He's not looking at one with the car, and that qualifying pace, you know, in the race, it's not matching up, as you mentioned it might, James, and almost 1.5 seconds already. He's killing Kyle, Leopard and Limitless's races here, not giving them a chance to challenge the top two. If they want to challenge, they need to get past him now, because it's clear already that Verstappen doesn't seem to have the pace he needs. And here comes Kyle Mitchell straight up behind. The DRS will be open. You heard the beat above my voice, and here comes Kyle Mitchell. Verstappen defends the inside. Surely this will be a simple move round the outside. It's not going to be easy. Verstappen will break later. He'll try and hold it out. Really close racing between them. Verstappen, you know, tight as he can round the hairpin, clings on. Good stuff there from him. Broke late.
Yeah, I rate that. I really do rate that from Verstappen. Just keeping his nose in there. Here comes Leopard up the inside towards the Mercedes Benz grandstand. Let's get the words out of my mouth. He's up the inside of Carl Mitchell, moves himself into 4th place. Good move then from Leopard. Needs to get on it now as well, because Verstappen doesn't look like the easiest of passes, as well any Verstappen goes at this current, well, any sort of Formula 1 context.
Yeah, absolutely. He's living up to the name of the great Max Verstappen, no doubt about that. You know, he was really ballsy on the brakes, wasn't he? Really bold, and you know, Kyle thought he was going to use that overspeed to his advantage and sneak round the outside. Verstappen having absolutely none of it. And the next thing you know, Kyle Mitchell's under threat and is passed by LCR Leopard. So under threat there. But as we mentioned about JD dropping out with it, close to that second, because they were battling, he's straight back within range at half a second. So, you know, he won't be too worried yet. But already, Leopard and Limitless, the two title rivals, don't look like they're going to be getting a sniff at the top two, because they're already 2 seconds clear, aren't they?
And here comes Leopard again, then he's making a move on Verstappen, this time round the outside of the Parabolica, believe it or not, and into the braking zone of the hairpin of turn 6, and it looks pretty easy for Leopard, it has to be said. No defence there really from Verstappen, a bit of contact behind with Carl Mitchell.
And I think he's got away with it. I don't think there was any damage there, James, but yeah, wow, really close to some serious contact between them there. But Limitless now with Leopard at the front of this train, and an opportunity now to try and close the two in front. He'll feel he needs to get a move on his title rival. He can't have him disappearing up the road, can he, James?
No, he can't. He has to keep him. And Verstappen pronto, really. And Leopard will be trying to close on the top two. And to be fair, Verstappen may be a little bit, dare I say, out of shape in that full scenery at the moment. Looks a little bit all over the place. And when you compare that with the guys in front of them, they look planted. Snazzy and Sarah just look absolutely planted, as always on a racetrack. So let's see how quickly Leopard is able to close those two down.
Yeah, perhaps maybe VSR Verstappen. You know, we see this quite a lot. We hear about it quite a lot. The drivers talk about it all the time during the post-race interviews and beyond them when we talk to them after it. The ballast. Has VSR Verstappen gone too far on the ballast, and it's led to an unstable rear end? Maybe it is the case. And now here comes Kyle Mitchell. Is he going to have a look? Doesn't look like it. He's a little bit deep though, VSR Verstappen. It should help him on his exit, and it does indeed. And he can scamper off down the road ahead of that McLaren. But no doubt about it, that seems like the possibility. An unstable rear, ballast high for Verstappen, gives you lap time in qualifying and low fuel, but it hurts you in the race. Could that be the case, James? It certainly looks like it's a reasonable shout.
Yeah, I think you're right, absolutely right. The ballast looks just a bit too much on the full scenery at the moment. Maybe he's put a little bit less wing on as well, just so he's got a bit more straight line speed. Maybe he's sort of done that as opposed to thinking about, oh yeah, I might be defending a bit in this Grand Prix. And I think that's what a couple of guys will be thinking here. It's like, as much as they want to attack and they want to go for it, a couple of guys will be thinking, well, should I put a little bit more downforce on and just hope that I can get through the final sector and not completely burn out my tyres? And that may be a slight option for some of these guys. Leopard is starting to bolt away in the distance, but he's not really closing. to the top two. It is still about 2 seconds between Leopard and Snazzy.
Absolutely, but Snazzy, half a second behind Sierra. If it starts becoming a battle between the two, Leopard will fancy his chances to maybe close that in. He might go for an aggressive undercut as well as Snazzy gets closer into the braking zone, and very late in the brakes actually locks up the fronts there. And if he didn't lock up the fronts, he would have gone straight into the back of Sierra there. That's a certainty, but that was close between them. Gap 2.1 to Leopard behind it. I suppose Limitless won't be too flustered if Leopard can't catch them, but he's still losing valuable points to him in the championship. It would be 7 points lost. As things stand at the moment, you would get 15 Leopard for finishing in third. JD would get 8 for finishing in sixth. 7 points difference, 7-point net gain for LCR Leopard. So JD at the moment won't be too flustered, but he'll want to start closing that in, because Leopard now just dips under 2 seconds for the first time in the race, James, as Snazzy gets ever more threatening behind Sierra.
Absolutely, half a second. It doesn't look like he's being able to just really drag that Williams to just heel in, and maybe it's what I'm talking about. Maybe he is actually running at that little bit more downforce on that Red Bull, as opposed to the Williams. Look how much more confident he is going into turn 3 there, turn 2 I should say there. So much more confident on the brakes. And let's watch him in towards turn 6.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a chance this time. He was so strong through there, and he's gaining and gaining on the Brazilian. Snazzy might have a chance here. He's going to dive late on the brakes up the inside. Sierra closes the door. Look at that, is the contact so close to being any. There might even have been a slight nudge, but somehow they get away with it. Sierra holds on still, but that was Snazzy's best chance of the race so far. Hunting themselves down, hurtling down towards the Mercedes grandstand. Sierra still has the upper hand, just about, with Snazzy looking ever more threatening in behind. And is he just looking after his tyres that little bit more? Is he looking after the ERS a little bit more? He's 30% higher on the ERS management as well. So everything pointing favourably in the direction of the Red Bull driver.
Absolutely, and he'll be dying to get a Grand Prix win again, Will Snazzy. It's been such a long time. It was Hungary, that was his last win, wasn't it? All those races to go now. Well, only win to this day, it was absolutely. And I'd love to see him win another, because he really does have the talent. There's no doubt about that. Snazzy Evening has come along in this league racing scene and taken it by absolute storm. But let's see what he can do against Sierra here, because it was a bit of aggressive defending from Sierra, just cutting him off at the apex for turn 6.
Well, here comes again, darting and diving. Look at Sierra straight over to the inside of the racetrack. Doesn't want to give him any slipstream, any chance of reeling him in. And they need to be careful, because they don't want to allow Leopard to reel them in. On that last lap, Leopard strangely wasn't able to gain the way you maybe thought he would have been able to, and it remains as they were, the gap 2 seconds between them, with these two fighting out front. We should remember, folks, Sierra does race on a pad, so usually that would mean, or it definitely means, that he would have a slightly washed tyre wear, so that might explain why Snazzy at this current stage looks quite considerably quicker.
Absolutely, and there's another factor in this Grand Prix that I've only really just thought about, although not a lot of people are talking about it, is the fact that, a win here for Sierra sort of gets him right back in the championship fight. Like, he's not a million miles away from the top 2 in the championship. He has a fair distance. Oh, Snazzy even getting a big bite coming out the final corner. But yeah, as I say, Sierra's not actually too far behind the championship. It's definitely a gap he can make up. And he just needs to get that little bit of form right when it matters. And this is the point where getting form matters in these small seasons. It's right towards the end of it.
Well, yeah, every possibility. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you remember Leopard, his form was incredible in that short season we had towards the end of the season. And he put himself into a position where he could win the championship at the final race with a victory. He put it into his own hands. Hold on a minute, we've got a battle here between Rosberg and Murso, and those medium tyres on Rosberg don't look to be dying anytime soon. He cruises past and is up into 7th place. We're going to have to keep an eye on this man, because he at the moment is reeling in that group fighting over the podium on those mediums. What a race it's been so far from CRL Rosberg, James. Incredible.
Absolutely, I can't remember the last time we had 2 pad finishes on the podium at any race, for that matter. Absolutely any race. So could well happen here. Rosberg is a dangerous driver in this context of the Grand Prix here, because actually the pad doesn't look completely off the pace of what a wheel could be. There is a slight difference on some circuits, but this one doesn't look like it's playing much difference. I'm sure they tell you otherwise.
Yeah, they know better than us. They're the smart guys that play the game day in, day out. I've tried it on both, and I think it says a lot that the majority of them are now on the wheels, and the pad is a dying art. I think that conclusively gives us the answer. Oh, it's Limitless, getting very close to the back of Kyle Mitchell, and perhaps he fancies making a move pretty soon. Kyle will get the benefit of the DRS to Verstappen in front, but Limitless is so far into the slipstream behind it that he might fancy his chances. He needs to try and make some ground up on Leopard. He's going down the inside. Is he going to outbreak the McLaren? Yes, he is. Through he goes, up into 5th place. A little drift on the exit, and textbook stuff from the Mercedes man. He makes his move, and he'll be pretty glad he did, because pretty soon I think his Mercedes team might have been on the radio, because Rosberg is flying.
Yeah, it is crucial that Limitless got past him there, and it's great stuff that those two Mercs are right in there as well at this stage. But now, Verstappen's not really, he's holding his own, I'd say, at the moment. He's not looking, I would say, confident with the back end of that car, but he's certainly keeping it in 4th place, and that's all that he cares about at the moment. Now, you have to try and fend off JD, though. This could be a very, very tall order for him.
Absolutely. I fancy Limitless in the next lap or so to get him. I really think he's going to have an opportunity. He's starting to find his rhythm, JD. He's found his way past Kyle. And, Kyle has slowly, I've not really mentioned it, gone backwards a little bit. Leopard's passed him now, Limitless has passed him. He's been unable to close that gap on VSR Verstappen and make any moves.
Top two.
We're going to have to, yeah, you're right. We're going to have to watch that, because look at Snazzy Evening. He's right behind him. I almost missed that there. Here we go. Oh, that's a huge switch back from Snazzy Evening. I'm out of my seat in the commentary box. And he outbreaks himself, goes off the road. Goodness me, if I've ever seen a do or die move, that was it. Somehow, he doesn't go flying off the racetrack into a big moment. And Sira holds on. That would not have done his tyres any good, or his team's heart rate. Goodness me. Or my heart rate. I jumped out of my seat, James.
Goodness gracious me, you can't have been the only one to actually mute him. I wasn't too sure what I was going to say after that point. My goodness me, what seemed to look like when I was riding on board with him is you just tried to throw it up the inside just way too late. Possibly, he was all over the curb, not even of the corner, and he just threw it onto the grass. That really did cost him under braking. Sarah pits from the Grand Prix, which could trigger a load of pit stops here, and that'll be interesting to see who actually does come in. Meanwhile, in all of that absolute mayhem, Sarah Limitless moves himself ahead of VSR Verstappen, and he's going to have to get a move on now, because he's 2 seconds behind Leopard in front of him. But that was unbelievable from Snazzy Evening. Yeah, we'll touch on it again in a moment. Sira in the pits, he rejoins. Is it clean air? It's not great. 9/10 to Drelix in front. 1.1, he's in ahead of Bastic. It's not great. Not great for Sira. We'll see how it goes for him. Verstappen has rejoined the track. We've had Fiona Brown in the pits, Reynolds and Melanie as well. It's time to go back up to Kyle Mitchell, though, who has been overtaken by the flying CRL Rosberg. That man is flying this afternoon, and the people in the Mercedes grandstand, the Mercedes fans, rise to their feet in appreciation. What a race from Rosberg so far. But yes, we have to go back to that moment of rash madness from Snazzy Evening. Thankfully, it didn't result in a crash. But you know what I think? I saw a great move from Martin on Twitter the other day, where at Spain, where he ducked out from behind at the last minute to try and switch to the inside. I think he was drawing some inspiration from that, but he certainly didn't execute it as he would have liked. But thankfully, no damage done to Snazzy or his rival, Sira. But Snazzy looks to continue out there on the track. How much grip has he got left in those tyres after that monstrous lock-up? We'll wait and see. But his gap to the leader, let's have a look at that for a moment. Where is Sira? He is, how many seconds? 16.1 behind Snazzy Evening at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that gap, but I would think that Sira would rejoin in front. You would certainly think so, wouldn't you? Absolutely, and actually having a look, also, Sarah's obviously done that one lap on those medium tyres. Leopard came in for a set of mediums. He's already come out. He's about 3 seconds, or so, maybe nearly 4 seconds behind. As Verstappen's going for a move on Carl Mitchell here, and Verstappen, I think, has actually just got back ahead of Carl Mitchell there as well. And he's having an alright afternoon. It's got to be said for Verstappen. Let's just see what he can do on these medium tyres. Absolutely,
strong stuff from VSR Verstappen. The podium might look like a tall order, but he is now up into what would be a net P4 and, or 5. I'm not too sure what it would be in relation to JD. I think it's P5 maybe. Fifth, yeah. So Snazzy Evening pit. So that is the big key question. Where is he going to rejoin in relation to Sira, who is now caught Drelex in the middle of this lap? Limitless is in too. Snazzy Evening is leaving his pit box. Where is Sira? He's coming down the start-finish straight towards turn 1 with Drelex in front of him. Is it going to be enough? I would certainly think so. Yes, it should be enough. And he is ahead of Snazzy. And it's going to be close behind that, though, between Snazzy and Bastic. Is he Bastic going to get ahead? No, he's not. But crucially, Sira gets himself ahead of Drelex, and that was a key moment in the race, isn't it?
It was also really key. Bastic actually got Snazzy wasn't part of Bastic, but Bastic has a good run on him here, up towards turn 6, and can the Renault do a favour for his teammate here? Leopard's behind these two at the moment, but not at this occasion from Bastic. Can't help but see him out in the way that maybe he'd have liked. He's locking his wheels up as well, Leopard, into turn 6, and JD's made an immense amount of time.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Enormous.
I was going to say his in-lap and out-lap must have been absolutely sensational. Despite pitting later, he still managed to cover off VSR Verstappen and Mitchell, but he's reeled in Leopard and Limitless now within a second, or just around a second, to LCR Leopard, and with 1 lap fresher tyres, he now has his championship rival within range. But what about Sira here this afternoon? Is he going to bring himself into contention? I can't give you the gaps, my phone's died. The last championship standings I saw were only updated to round 4. But roughly, James, how many points was Sira behind the leading two?
I'll get back to you on it. It'll be around the sort of 20s mark, I think. It'll be quite close, I think. Yeah, but that sort of margin, it may be sort of mid to low 20s, I'm thinking. But that's still enough. You can still win a championship from that.
Absolutely, especially with 75 points still available at the end of this race. So every possibility as Verstappen now looks to mount some pressure on Limitless. Limitless doesn't have DRS to the car in front of Leopard. He's fell out of that because his tyres went up to temperature, and now Verstappen looks to put a move on him. He thinks about it, thinks better of it, and sits in behind JD in what is essentially a battle for 4th place. It could be lower than that when Rosberg pit, because he will be charging through the field later on, won't he?
Oh, sorry, he will be. I just haven't got Mike muted. He'd be interesting how Rosberg can find his way through the rest of this field as well, because soft tyres don't actually look that bad on the whole stint, and JD's having to defend it from Verstappen. It's a bit of a tall order for JD, but if it stays like this, then actually, if we talk about Sira, I was absolutely right. It's 22 points between himself and the guys in front of him. If it stays like this, it could all change, of course.
So he would be within a race win. So Sira then, with a serious opportunity to bring himself into this championship and make it a 3-way scrap. And if you remember, and I'm sure you do remember, James, it's hard to forget, we had a 3-way scrap for the championship at the final race 2 seasons ago in the short season. So yeah, it's going to be a thrilling finale, that's for sure, as Kyle Mitchell now lines up a move on VSR Verstappen as they hurtle down towards the hairpin of turn 6. He's right behind him. Is he going to make the move? Up the inside he goes. That was very late. He's going to hit JD. Oh, that was close. That was very, very close to having a huge impact on the championship and a huge impact on the back of that Mercedes. Remarkably, Kyle Mitchell just about avoids him, but on that occasion, he was a bit late, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a little bit. I think JD will be counting his lucky stars tonight, because that was a bit too close. For any sort of move really from Carl Mitchell, but my goodness me, that could have ended in such a dramatic set of circumstances that we find ourselves in. JD is closing up to Bastic, but Leopard has also got past his teammate. He's within 6/10 of Snazzy, who's stuck behind the Canadian of Drelex here.
Yeah, well, he's going to make that move into turn 1 of all places. Not a place you'd often see a move. I don't think Drelex is really fighting that one though, and he breezes past, but the damage you feel, James, has been done as Leopard now slivers up the inside of Drelex and is within range of Snazzy Evening. So for Snazzy though, the damage has been done. You'd fancy Sira to romp away from here, wouldn't you? And look at Leopard reeling in Snazzy Evening in a rare knots down this straight. Snazzy's going to need to get defensive here. Leopard's aggressive, we know that. Look how late he is. Snazzy tries to squeeze him. He squeezes him too late, and Leopard barges his way through and up into 3rd place, a net P2. That is a big impact on the championship. JD knows that, but I have to say, Snazzy Evening, in my opinion, was too late to realise that Leopard was a threat.
Yeah, he was way too late. He should have been on the inside from the moment he saw him coming, because that is what the sort of difference is. When you have that toe on the back straight, you cannot afford to make, I don't want to call it a mistake, 'cause it's not a mistake, but it is in many instances. He's just almost allowed him through. And for Snazzy there, well, I think this could be personal between these two. They're definitely racy, let's say that. So I don't think it's completely over for Snazzy. If he can keep him within the DRS, he's got a chance. Limitless has passed Banztek and moved himself into the top 6, but that's because Banztek has made his one and only pit stop.
I've got to give Leopard a lot of credit there. You know, one chance he had, he saw Snazzy sleeping and he broke at the perfect time and nailed that move. And, you know, Snazzy, a small error, a racecraft error, a costly one. And in Formula 1 these days, you know, it's usually an error from the driver, you know, on the track, making a moment on his own that costs you a position. But it's good to see that, you know, racecraft still plays a part in Formula 1 in circumstances like that. And, you know, if Snazzy just wasn't sleeping, if he got across a fancy, he would still have been in third place in this Grand Prix.
Absolutely, I think that's the difference, really. I think with Leopard, recently, and what I've noticed more and more about him is just his ruthless nature to win.
Yeah.
Like, he really is just like, I don't want to use the word born winner, but that is the kind of like, approach that he has to any race he does. He's so aggressive, but it's so effective in many ways as well. And it's just one of those things that I've always just noticed about Leopard. He's just ruthless in that nature on the racetrack. And I love that about that driver, I really do.
Yeah, sometimes it can land you in hot water, no doubt about that. But you're absolutely right. Leopard's got that ruthlessness, that killer instinct to win a championship that we've seen from the greats in Formula 1. You know, it really is like that Schumacher, the Sennas, the Prost, that extra little bit of bad boy touch about them, the lack of nice guyness on the racetrack. And you do need that at times. And Leopard, you know, sometimes it can land you in hot water, but today it's earned them an extra place and an extra few points potentially in the championship battle, because Limitless at the moment is around 2 seconds away from Snazzy, and at the moment not really making the ground he would need to get there, because he and Snazzy both pitted on the same lap, didn't they?
Yeah, they did indeed. You need to see JD just a bit more at this point of the Grand Prix on those medium tyres. Morso's not far behind JD. He's not exactly losing time. Well, maybe a little bit of time to JD in front of him, but JD, I'm sure, will see these two ahead of him and think, right, well, I need to get on it now. I really do need to get on it. So Sarah Rosberg has finally come into the pits, some 19 laps on those medium tyres. Let's see how quick he is on those softs. This could be a big moment at the Grand Prix. How quick will he be on those softs?
Well, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm looking forward to this, to see where Sarah Rosberg can end up in this race. And he's come out already behind Verstappen. That's incredible. He's going to eat up Verstappen immediately and take the position. And, you know, he's got a real opportunity here of making some serious ground. And he breezes past easily up into 7th place. And, you know, how much further do you think he can go? Surely up to the back of Limitless at the very least.
Well, if he doesn't get any penalties, this could be an absolute stonking drive from Sarah Rosberg. We saw it in Bahrain. We're seeing glimpses of it again here. It is brilliant. When he can get on it, he really does. And let's just see how quickly he can dispose of people around in front of him. He's had, well, other than Austria, and since Austria, he's just had a bit of a last race in Britain. Wasn't exactly to plan for him. I think he was caught up in the incident at turn 3 at Silverstone. So was maybe the reason he hasn't had the greatest of luck recently. He's P6 at the moment. Jason's running in the points. We forget to talk about him, but there's a penalty, and it's to a crucial driver then. It's Sarah who's got himself a 3-second time penalty. Crucial. But Snazzy even goes fast as ball.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Sarah picking up a 3-second time penalty. He can't afford to get too many more of those, can he? Otherwise, he'll invite Leopard through the door. And as a championship rival, that's not what you want to do. Snazzy evening still within that 1 second window to LCR Leopard as well, crucially. We haven't really mentioned Merceau. We briefly mentioned that he was running in P6 before that pit stop of Rosberg. As oh, hold on, we're going to move from Jason here, going past Verstappen, whose race has really faded quite significantly. And Jason moves past up into 8th place. Tidy stuff from Jason, an average performance from him. And he's up into 8th place. But CRGT Merceau running in 5th place at the moment. Pretty good race from him so far, up in the top 5. He likes to get a good top 5 finish. He's always a good top 5 result for Merceau usually is a fantastic weekend, and you know, anything more than that is usually a bonus, like a podium or something like that. So I think Merceau will be really reasonably satisfied with 5th place, won't he?
Yeah, I think he will be. I think it's been a good performance from him also, by all accounts. I mean, he started in 8th on the grid, so more points back for him, really. He actually got a podium because of Leopard actually getting a penalty at Silverstone, hence why there's only 1 point of the championship, because Rosberg is flexing his muscles with a 13.6. He is the fastest man on track at the moment, and we wait to see just how quickly he can eat up P1R Brown. He's so much later on the brakes. This is a mismatch, really, in terms of the set of tyres they're on. And let's see what Rosberg could do. He could have him into turn 6 here.
Yeah, he absolutely could. This should be candy from a baby. And Taylor Rosberg says, bye-bye, P1R Brown. I'm going past, and I'm up into 6th place now, flying along. Obviously, it's a bit early for driver of the day, but if he keeps this pace up, James, he's certainly going to be mine.
He's had a couple of these sorts of performances, though, as Rosberg. Like, I don't know what it is, but when you see him really on song of the race, he really is on it. As I've just said, he's another one of those guys who is kind of ruthless. You don't really see it. I don't ever see him as it, but when you see him on a racetrack, he's a totally different kettle of fish when you're talking to him.
Well, he's absolutely flying, and already has eaten up the ground to CRGA Mursel. We spoke about how he was happy with the top 5 finish and keeping up that great form following Silverstone. Well, about to drop down to 6th place, and I don't think he's going to have much of a say in the battle, because much like P1R Brown, he dispatched him with ease as he thumps in another fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:13 flat from Taylor Rosberg, and I don't think Mursel is going to be able to do much about this. I mean, is it even worth James defending the inside when someone's so much quicker? Let's keep an eye on it. What's Mursel going to do? Into the slipstream comes Rosberg, and predictably he ain't going to defend it, because it's simple, it's easy as that. Not in the same race anymore, and Rosberg is through. Now the big question is, what will happen when he gets to Limitless? Because at this rate of knots, he will get there. Will he make a move, or will JD and him have a discussion, given that there's a championship battle going on here? That is interesting, James.
I don't know. It's a weird one. I don't know whether Rosberg's going to play ball here. I really don't. Although, having said that, at Silverstone last time out, he actually allowed JD to really, he helped him massively to win that Grand Prix to Rosberg. But look, this is a big moment. Like, Rosberg has the faster tyres here to his teammate JD. JD, this could be an absolute silver arrows war at the home of, well, this manufacturer in particular, Mercedes-Benz. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays down in front of the home crowd, but I'm sure it'll be something exciting. That's nothing for these guys. Let's see what Snazzy can do behind Leopard as well. It's only about 0.4 of a second. There's a real chance for him here.
Yeah, there is, but we'll go to that. But I've got to say, Rosberg, we said he was ruthless. Let's see how ruthless he is.
Yeah.
A championship challenger teammate, TRL Limitless, who's got 1 point separating him and Leopard, losing ground today to Leopard, and the moment losing ground to the tune of 5 points. It would be to the tune of 6 points. It would be to the tune of 8 points if Rosberg was to pass him. So what will happen? Will they play ball or not? That will be interesting. That is going to be a story that will unfold over the next few laps in this Grand Prix. If you're watching, if you were in charge of the Mercedes team, what would you be telling your drivers? Imagine you were in charge of the Mercedes Esports team and it was Limitless in Rosberg. What would you be telling them? Would you be saying, Rosberg, hold position? Would you be saying, this is James? You know, that kind of thing? You know, the old Bottas make me...
I mean, I've got a right to say that sort of thing, but only because my name's James. Let's see what Rosberg... It's just interesting. I'm not sure if you were really... I don't know, because league racing team orders, they're very thin. You don't see a lot of it, but when you do, you really notice it. You really notice it. Like, it's very rare that you see it, though. You don't see it enough because everyone's always just racing each other, regardless of what position they're going for. And this is what I mean. It's just a weird scenario. Like, we've watched JD in teams before, last season with Red Bull with Martin, where you thought, actually, these two know each other relatively really well. Like, they're not going to fight each other. But they were, like, hammer and tong against each other. Like, they just went at it. So, I don't know, maybe Rosberg's just going to give JD a run for his money here. This is going to be interesting, though.
Well, briefly, P1R Brown has moved himself ahead of CRGA Mursel, whose pace, ever since we mentioned him, has just taken a nosedive. So apologies, CRGA Mursel, for that one. But yes, I want to continue this discussion, James. I do, because it's an interesting one that we don't get to talk about often. But, you know, there was something about that JD Martin relationship last season in Red Bull. At times they worked together. Earlier on in the season, they would let each other through. And later on, when we got to, I think it was Singapore, they were at each other's throats, as you say. How is this one going to pan out? Is Rosberg going to play ruthlessly and go for the move? Or is JD, his championship battling teammate, going to ask him to stay where he is?
We're going to find out.
And as you say, team orders are thin in league racing, and this is how thin. He's going up the inside, the two Silver Arrows doing battle, and JD, to me, didn't look like he was going to fight that. And Rosberg grazes past up into 4th place, and that is ground lost in the championship for TRL Limitless. Your thoughts on that, Jay?
Well, I think it probably should have happened. I'll be honest, I know Limitless is fighting for a championship, but I mean, in this scenario, right now with the tyres this different, what is the point in keeping Rosberg just sat behind his teammate? Because they're actually going to bring themselves into more danger, I think, doing that. They could find themselves falling even further behind the guys on the podium, and maybe allowing people like Brown and more so to close up again. It's risky doing it in that sort of fashion. So I think it's kind of the right thing to do. But you've seen it this season, especially with Ferrari, for example. When you've seen it, you know, look, they need to make a decisive decision immediately. And I think that's kind of what they did there. They didn't really make any song and dance about it. They got on with it, and that's how it's done. And I think that's the best thing they could have done. Watch Saturday evening, they go, again, he is right on the back of Leopard in front of him.
This is a chance here, and this would really help Limitless for losing out to his teammate. And here it comes, Snazzy Evening on the brakes. Late he goes, and he dives through up into 2nd place, and Leopard doesn't have an answer. Just when you thought Leopard had sprung away at the one opportunity he got, Snazzy Evening fights back and regains 2nd place, and the championship takes another minor turn, minor twist in the standings and in the points, and all of that helps Sierra, because that's one less place for Leopard and one less place for Limitless.
Yeah, that's massive. That is really big that Snazzy's managed to get past Leopard there, and I'm sure JD's maybe breathing a sigh of relief. I don't know how much though, because of course he is still behind his teammate Rosberg there. So I don't want to say squabbling, but it's not a massive gap between them, considering Rosberg is on those. I thought that by now he would have been really have pulled away. Like, I mean, he would have been about a second clear, just because of the freshness, or maybe not freshness now, those soft tyres. He's going to feel it now. And again, this is probably where the tyres are going to be switched again, because Rosberg's going to have to try and close up to Leopard, but if he can't get on with it and those tyres fall away, then JD's going to have to go past again.
Well, that's the next question I was going to ask you. Will they just do the switcheroo back round if Rosberg doesn't catch this group? It doesn't look like he's going to catch them. So they'll probably just switch them back round again, won't they? And, you know, they've not lost any time from what they've done so far. It was actually a clean move down on the straight. So I presume that will happen again, because Limitless should have the benefit as Rosberg's soft tyres wear out. And that would mean Limitless would only lose out 3 points to Leopard. So they're, you know, really closing up.
Yeah, it is tremendously close, and Drelix has got past Baztek. How has he hit it side by side going into the Mercedes-Benz grandstand, and Drelix on the outside of Baztek. Yeah, this is for the final point, and round the outside, what a move that is from the Canadian.
Well, I'm gutted I missed it. I only caught the tail end of it, but I'm pretty sure it was tidy stuff from Drelix, and he moves up into the top 10. And vitally, crucially, that's a World Championship point, and when you're scrapping down the bottom, you appreciate that point, because you know you work so hard, you put the effort in, the practice, and if you come away with nothing, you know, you're extremely downhearted. So they'll be extremely pleased down at Haas and in Canada that Drelix has got himself a point on the board with that. Tidy stuff.
Yeah, it was a great move, and I've always said it, and we've said it in commentary so many times in the past. Drelix is always that man you can rely on to get yourself a point, because he always gets them. Like, you never notice it, but he's always there in the points. And even on days where he hasn't even practiced, he thought he was going to get work today. It turns out he's in the points, and he's got to be loving life. But he's going to be loving life for a very short time, because Baztek's right on the back of him again. So up towards turn 6, and Baztek's on the inside again. And Baztek has actually got back past the Haas, and the Haas is going to have to. This is a great little squabble here that's forming between these two.
See you later, says Baztek as he retakes 10th place, and Drelix drops back down into P11. So that looks like a cracking little scrap that's going to go on all the way to the flag. So I'm looking forward to this. Something I had forgotten about, by the way, Sira 3-second penalty. Gap between Sira and Snazzy 3.2 and closing, James. Wow.
He is playing devil's advocate in this Grand Prix, isn't he, Snazzy? He's thinking, well, you know, I'm not in the championship fight, let's just ruin it for everyone. And that's,
that's
kind of what he's doing here. Like, yeah, I mean, he's ruined Leopard's day, let's be real here. Leopard didn't really need to lose a position to Snazzy, and now Snazzy's going to say, well, Sarah, you want your chance in the championship, mate? Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to try and fight for it, because, well, it's 0.3 of a second. Well, Sarah's day may have just gone for a bad to us here as well.
Well,
the killjoy
to watch, because Sira, two things we need to note. Sira older tyres than Snazzy Evening by 2 laps, and he's on the pad. So double whammy there for Sira. You would, on paper, expect that gap to close. So let's keep an eye on it over the next few laps. I'm pretty sure Snazzy doesn't have a penalty. James, if you may, could you please check just to be sure? Don't want to miscall it, but I think Sira has 3, Snazzy does not, and that would be that. Leopard though could be the spanner in the works, James. He could get ahead of Snazzy and ruin both their chances of getting within 3 seconds of Sira, couldn't he?
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a much closer end to the Grand Prix than I think a lot of people are thinking. Leopard doesn't have a penalty, but Snazzy is one warning away from getting one, so he really cannot afford to ride those curves too much. As much as he's got to close up to Sarah and really hit the pace. If it were me, I would just go for it, because I mean, it's like, what am I going to lose here? I'm second in the Grand Prix, I may as well just go for it.
And I'm not
maybe why I've not really won anything. Yeah, and that as well. So he's 3.5 seconds. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, one race went to his name, and I'm not taking anything away from Snazzy Evening when I say this. It was a dramatic, chaotic race that he won. You know, he won it on merit on that day, but I'm sure he would feel even more satisfied if he won this one, you know, in a straight fight against these guys. You know, that afternoon it was, you know, damp weather, things were mixed up. It was still a great victory, no doubt about it, but to win it in the dry weather from in a big heated battle like this, I think it'd be even more satisfying for Snazzy if he could. But the gap doesn't seem to be coming down. If anything, Leopard seems to be gaining, and Leopard might be the man making the move on Snazzy Evening in the closing moments. Limitless at the moment as they go on to the final couple of laps, not within DRS range of Rosberg. We'll have to wait and see if the switch will come between those two. So we'll have several talking points. Who is going to get 9th place? Reynolds against Bastic. Drelix dropping out of favour in that one. Who's going to be second? Who's going to win the race? As the gap now comes down to 3.2, James. This is going to be some finale here. And now Leopard says, okay, I've heard the message about the penalty. I want to be the one that takes the victory. He dives past Snazzy Evening, up the inside, into the hairpin. Snazzy will try the cut back on the exit. This is all falling into place for VSR Sira as they continue to scrap behind. 3.3 is the gap. Snazzy concedes and Leopard is up into second place. Can he now close the 3-2 tenths he needs to take a victory that looked completely unlikely a few laps ago?
Well, if you watched a week ago, you know that the Grand Prix was settled by the final few corners. And, well, the next 16 corners of this Hockenheim ring are going to be something to really, really witness, because there's 3.1 seconds, such a similar set of circumstances between this week and last week. It's going to be crazy.
This is going to go right to the wire, and Snazzy Evening will feel with a good toe. He still has a decent opportunity here as well. DRS opens for him, 3.087. But you feel, James, Snazzy can't win it, but he can certainly take it away from Leopard. That's what I'm feeling here. Would you agree?
Yeah, he does, and this is the moment where he's going to change it all. And let's watch the run up to turn 6.
There we go then, Snazzy Evening gaining. Leopard knows he needs to defend. It's so tight, it's so almost touching wheels into the braking zone. Snazzy round the outside, neither want to yield. They're trading paint through the corner and they both run wide. Surely that gives Sira what he needs. Snazzy gets a 3-second time penalty for running off the road, and Sira has been saved right at the very end as Snazzy tries to dive through. He can't do it, and that tight battle between the pair has surely earned Sira the victory and dug him out of a bit of a hole. Let's go to Sira now. In fact, we'll keep an eye on this battle for a couple more corners. I don't think there's going to be a move, so let's go to VSR Sira, who has brought himself back into the championship hunt with a brilliant win He wins in the 7th round of the championship. The Brazilian takes the flag here at the Hockenheim ring. Leopard is going to be second, just ahead of Snazzy third. Rosberg gets the podium. Snazzy fourth. Limitless doesn't get ahead of Snazzy. And that final lap must be a real pain in the side for Limitless. He's lost some serious ground there. But CRL Rosberg gets onto the podium. What a performance from him.
And look at that, two pad users on the podium. It's a dying art, people said. Well, that goes to prove that on some occasions it might just work. And Snaz Evening, 2 laps ago, was staring down the barrel of a win. 2 laps later, isn't even on the podium. I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know about an absolutely epic German Grand Prix. But VSR Sierra wins again in ILR, and this could really be the moment, the turning point in the World Championship.
Absolutely, but I can't help but feel, James, LCR Leopard's got out of jail here. 5th on the grid, not a great qualifying session. Somehow, he shows some great class, shows some steel, some determination to wrestle that to 2nd place. And Limitless just, you know, a bit flat today in the race. Couldn't make the ground that his rival Leopard did. And it's cost him a few points today. And, you know, with him in 5th, Leopard coming home 2nd, that's a big 8 points lost this afternoon for JD. Not the end of the world, but it's a bigger hit than he would probably have been hoping for when they lined up 5th and 6th in the grid.
Absolutely, it's a hard one to really decipher, to be fair, but it was a hard podium fought for Leopard there. He didn't have that easy, that Grand Prix. That was possibly, I think he might agree to say with us, we'll find out in a moment, that might have been the hardest one he's won to finish on the podium yet. I think it might have been one of the hardest yet. So he's had a number of 2nd place finishes, but let's run us through the order.
Well, VSR Sierra comes out on top in 42 minutes and 35 seconds on the pad. Great performance from him, beating Leopard by 4/10 despite that 3-second penalty. CRL Rosberg, what can you say? What a performance. 2 pad users on the podium, as you mentioned, James. And he came from 11th place on the grid to do it. Nobody would have given him a hope at the start of this race of achieving that. My driver of the day, hands down. I want to hear from you guys. I'm sure we'll hear from James in a minute on his driver of the day. Snazzy Evening, 4th place, as you mentioned again, James. Could have won the race a few laps from the end. Ended up with no champagne whatsoever. I'll have to send him a bottle for commiserations. TRL Limitless, a flat afternoon, as I mentioned. 5th place, could have been better. 8 points dropped in the championship hunt against Leopard. Then it was Pierre Brown, solid afternoon. He came home 6th. Mursel was running 5th, but he faded late on. He came home 7th. Jason, an average day in 8th. Drealex, there he is again, James, in the points, 9th place. And Bastek gets the final point in 10th. A great race, action throughout, always something to keep us excited. And now, James, you can take it away with the podium interviews. What a race.
What a race, absolutely. And, well, driver of the days go, Andy. I'm going to have to give it again to a man who just joined the party. I mean, it's one of these top 3. I don't know whether you could guess. I mean, these guys have no idea. Yeah, well, there you go. He'll be told in a moment. Sarah, let's come to you first. Obviously, 2nd win of the season. I don't want to say there was a dry period between your 2 wins, but I want to say there possibly was a little bit. So you've got to be pretty happy with this result. It sort of brings you, I'd say, right back in the championship hunt.
Oh, definitely. In my opinion, that was the race which was going to decide my position, the fight for the championship, and everything just got right. If it wasn't by my penalty in the middle of the race, probably would be my best performance ever in the league race, but I'm pretty happy with the result. Just praying to Lauper and Snazzy battle in the final laps because my tire was almost suffering a puncture, and I just managed to make a pace with no fuel and ERS and just bring the car home. And I'm pretty happy with the result. Wasn't expecting, but pretty happy.
Yeah, so with the next few races coming up, there's not a lot now. There isn't anything at all. I think it's only 3 or 4 races left now. What do you sort of think? What do you need to do? Because of course you've been a champion in the past in Brazil, but what do you need to do now to really? Because you are the hunter, and you need to catch the hunted. So what are you going to do about that in the next 4 races to really give yourself a really good chance of winning the championship?
Well, to me, my position is just now or never. 4 races left, 100 points in game, and my only objective is just stay ahead of Leopard and Limitless every single race to upgrade my championship chances. Leopard just finished P2 today, so I didn't took out much 7. I think I just took out much for Limitless. I think he finished P5. I don't know. So yeah, the only objective is that finish ahead of Leopard and Limitless, and trying to win as many races as I can.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the win once again. And let's move to second place Leopard, who's maybe counting his lucky stars in the Grand Prix today. You started 5th. It wasn't the most amazing qualifying we've ever seen from you this season. I don't know whether that's... I wouldn't be too sure of the reason, but you managed to fight your way back up into P2. Would you say that was one of the toughest races you've had this season?
Yeah, I mean, I gave it everything to try and win. Couldn't quite do it in the end. A lot of things I think I probably should have done differently, but yeah, GG to Sarah on the win. Reason why my quality was not as good is I think it was more of a race setup I went for. I kind of decided to sacrifice my quality. More of a race setup. Yeah, I tried all I could for the win, but Sarah was just a little bit too far up the road.
Absolutely, but on reflection, looking at it, of course, you've gained points on JD today, and he's not on the podium for, I think the second time this season he's not finished on the podium. So there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel in that sense. So you've got to be still pretty confident in this championship. Although there's a couple, Sarah now trying to join the fray as well. It's going to be tough, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm completely exhausted after that. So I'm trying to get words out of my mouth. This is quite difficult at the moment. But yeah, they'll be up there for sure.
Absolutely. I'll leave you to think about your choice of words next time. Thanks for that, and congratulations or commiserations on second place. Let's move then to my driver of the day, Cyril Rosberg. I said I'd tell him beforehand, and I have. So congratulations, Dave. Driver of the day. I'm sure everyone absolutely when they get that shout out. You also got Andy's as well. So I mean, getting 2 birds of one here. But well, I mean, it was a pretty manic race for you, wasn't it? You started on the medium, so 11th on the grid. So you were sort of you're corking the champagne bottle, if you want to call it that. You had the free choice of what you wanted to do. So I mean, you've got to be pretty happy with that. You didn't think you were going to come on the podium again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm back at least. So I didn't think that was happening after Bahrain. So maybe I should be qualifying outside the top 10 more often. Yeah, I was honestly so uncertain about starting on mediums because obviously you don't practice the alternate strategy. So it took some convincing from Sir and Dralix and other VSR guys to actually start on mediums. So that was at least a good shout from them. Overall, my race was, I wouldn't say perfect. I did get my 2 warnings quite early on, and so for the rest of the race, I was kind of just bricking it every time I came through turn 1, which isn't a nice feeling in the slightest. Yeah, it could have been better. I could have made my way through the pack a bit quicker in the medium stint, because I was definitely quicker by the end of it, but I mean, slipstream train, it's quite difficult when you're at the back of it. But yeah, P3, I didn't think I was getting P3 at the start of the last lap, but then Snazzy got a penalty for whatever reason. Apparently he's getting it removed, but I'm here now, so I don't care. Yeah, driver of the day as well. Thank you, boys.
I saw the maths. Ultimately, I mean, everyone will tell you that you get onto this coveted party and you realise, oh, I'm on the podium here. This is good stuff. But then let's move on to slightly more topical conversation, I suppose, in the form of, well, you had to pass JD. Now, this was a kind of a big talking point for us in the commentary box. We were kind of like, well, this is a bit of an awkward scenario for yourself. You are faster than him at that particular point, But was it? I don't want to say. Was it a bit awkward going? Well, I'm going to have to pass you here. And I mean, he is fighting for the championship. Were any doubt in your mind for going for it? Or you're just thinking, well, you know what? I'm a racer. I'm going to go for it regardless.
No, realistically, I didn't care. I was going to overtake him. Like, if I have to move over for JD, I don't care. I'll do it anyway. But like in that situation, I'm the one that's going for a podium. He's kind of just sat there pooling around for P4, P5. Not saying pooling, that's a bit nasty to say. He's doing anything but pooling around. But yeah, for that moment, I could see why there was a little bit of confusion. Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? I was gonna overtake him no matter what. I mean, he wouldn't get out my DRS as well, which started to annoy me. I was like, oh, am I gonna have to let him back past? I started getting worried, but he eventually dropped off and saved my bacon slightly. I mean, it was a good race from JD as well, of course, as someone's beeping outside my house. That's
Probably JD.
irrelevant.
Have a
It's probably
one.
JD.
Station back, please. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like maybe later in this. This is like round 7 or something, but maybe if I really have to move, like if JD's on an alternate strategy or in general he's just quicker than me, I will probably just let him go like I did at Silverstone. But today I don't think I did anything wrong in overtaking him. I got the podium as well, so I think overall for the team it's a good result.
Absolutely. No, don't take it away from me. I think it's probably, dare I say, the right thing to do. But I don't want to see people having to come up with these. I don't want to see petty team orders in an environment where you don't need it. There's no politics in this. We don't need it.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Fair play. And there are your top 3, Andy. I mean, brilliant race once again in ILR. Never fails to disappoint this league. We're still looking for our 10th or 11th podium finisher. I'm sure it will come. But, I mean, sum that race up for us, Andy. Just brilliant race, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm looking to be the 10th or 11th podium next week because I'm racing. I wouldn't be anywhere near the podium. I'd be that guy from F2. What's his name again? I forget his name.
Gran.
Aye, that guy. I'll be him.
Yeah.
But yes,
in the chat.
Sum the race up. Where did I start? I really enjoyed it. Cracking race. You know, I've missed out a couple of weeks of late, so it's good to come back with a bang. Great race. Really enjoyed it. Well done to Sarah getting the victory. And, you know, now we've got a 3-way fight in the championship. Sarah, as he mentioned in his interview, he didn't win today or didn't cut some ground today. It's probably going to be unlikely, but now he's right back in the hunt. And as we mentioned in commentary, and Leopard knows about this, he was involved in the 3-way fight in the short season last time round that went to the finale. Is he going to come out on top this time? Because it might happen again. Stay tuned, folks. It's going to be a thrilling climax to the season. 4 races to go, 100 points available, and it's going to go right down to the wire. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us, folks. I've been Ginger Andy. We've had James joining us in the commentary box. Well done to everyone on the podium. And our driver of the day, CRL Rosberg. What a performance that was. So that's all from us. We'll see you again next week for the next Grand Prix, which I have forgotten. What is the next race? Someone bail me out.
Belgium.
There we
Belgium.
go.
That's Monza, I think.
Oh, brilliant.
Pretty sure it's Monza.
One of the two.
saying
Join us next week.
We're doing Belgium, doesn't matter.
Well, it's one of them. It's one of them. Well, if you've booked a flight to go and watch the ILR race next week, well, good luck guessing what one it is, because we don't know. Anyway, good night. See you all next week. Bye-bye.
Oh, it was